These are the video notes for May 11th, and this is our last week of new learning. Today we'll learn something new. Tomorrow we'll kind of put all the pieces that we've been working on with parabolas together, and then on Wednesday we'll do our last bit of new learning, which is the quadratic formula and how to use that. And then next week, all you need to do is take your benchmark, and I'll give you some review options as well if you wanted to work through some review first. But this is it. Like, we're wrapping up really our last week. So today I'm going to focus on specifically talking about how to find the axis of symmetry and the vertex without using Desmos or a graphing calculator. Again, all of these skills are super essential as you move on in your math career. So first I'm going to get started and just give you a quick review of axis of symmetry and vertex. So when we're using and we're looking for these things algebraically, you're going to remember what they look like graphically. So let's see. Oh, it worked. Oh, no, I have like 4 tabs open. No, all right, it's all right. So here is over here that I'm activating and deactivating. This is a quadratic equation. And the graph is called a parabola. So the axis of symmetry is that folding line, like where your parabola is symmetric. And that is actually a line, and it's vertical. So if you remember, vertical lines are supposed to be x equals. And so that's x equals, and it's at 1. Let's see if I can, there. Well, yeah, there's at 1. And then the vertex is at turning point. So in this case, our turning point is 1, -6. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to give you an equation so you can find the axis of symmetry, and then we'll use that to find the vertex. And then the other thing that I just kind of wanted to show you real quickly is I'm going to reactivate this line. And I'm going to come up here to edit my list. And when I do that, remember we get these options, convert to table, or I could duplicate. I'm going to convert to table because I want to show you what did it say? 1, -6 was our vertex. So let me just add a couple. Can I add extra lines to this? Oh, I can. There's 3, 4, 5, and so on. So as you can see, if we were looking at the numbers on the y, so here's my vertex, -1, 6. If we start looking at the numbers at the y, because that vertex is that turning point, we have symmetry all the way down and up our table. So because this is a 3 down here and then it goes to a 10, that means this 3, the next number has to be a 10 at -3. And if I went to -1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, there's that point. So it kind of creates this symmetry even within our numbers over here. So once you kind of get a table going and you know where the vertex is, it's really easy to fill out the rest of your table. Once you know one side, you definitely know the other side of your parabola. Okay, so again, we're going to focus on an equation to help us find the axis of symmetry, and then we'll use that to find the vertex. So let me try to go back to where I need to go. All right. So here's the equation for the axis of symmetry. X equals -b/2a, and sometimes people just put the negative up with the b. That's probably what I will tend to do as I'm working with these. The negative could go with either value. It's just easier to put it with the b. And then everything I give you will have this formula on it. So any of your check-ins, your benchmark will have this formula on it, so you don't have to memorize it. I didn't give it. Oh, I did give it. It's on your notes. It's under the first column. Or second column. Okay, so we're going to walk through number 1 together. So just a refresher, standard form for quadratics is ax squared plus bx plus c. And this becomes really important later this week when we do the quadratic formula. So for this equation, my a value is 2, my b value is 4, and my c value is 1. Because we're doing the axis of symmetry, I just need to know b and a. So b is 4 and a is 2. So I'm substituting in, again, I like to put the negative with the b. So I have negative, and it's a 4 over 2 times my a value, which would be 2. So that's going to be negative 4 over 4. So that means my axis of symmetry is at x equals negative 1. So I know someplace at negative 1, here's negative 1, my vertex has to be along this line. So I could graph that if I wanted to. So that's going to be the axis of symmetry. And the vertex is someplace along that point. So now to find the actual vertex, I have an x value. And I have x's in my equation. So I'm going to go back up to my equation. And I am going to substitute in the negative 1. Now, if you're using a graphing calculator or Desmos, and you're not doing this just mentally, you have to put this negative 1 in parentheses when it's squared. If not, the calculator or Desmos will not find the value correctly. So negative 1 squared, remember, it's a negative times a negative, so it's a positive. And then I have 4 times negative 1, which is negative 4. And then that's just going to become 2. And I would say most of you could be doing all of this mentally. So 2, that's negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1. And that would be my y value. So I have an x value and a y value, which now means I have an ordered pair, negative 1, negative 1. So negative 1 is my vertex. That's my turning point. And then if you think back what we did earlier last week, I'm going back to my a value. It's a positive 2, which means my parabola should be opening up. And for now, for today's purposes, you're just gonna show me that your parabola is opening up, and we'll just leave it at that. And then the last thing that I asked, which I kind of skipped, is this is our vertex is our lowest point because our a value is positive. So you would tell me that your vertex is a minimum point. All right, we're going to do one more example together. Okay, here's a second one, y equals x squared plus 3. So remember, we're looking for ax squared plus bx plus c. So a is a coefficient of x squared, so my a value is 1. C is a constant, so 3 is c. I don't have an x term, so that means my b value, because there's no x, has to be 0. So now I'm going to use the axis of symmetry, which is x equals negative b over 2a. So I got negative 0 over 2 times 1, and we should all realize that that's just going to be 0. So my axis of symmetry is x equals 0. The axis of symmetry is an equation. It's a line, so you should write x equals 0. So now to find the rest of the vertex, I'm going back to my equation because I have an x value now, and I know x is 0. So 0 squared plus 3 is going to give me 3. So now I have an ordered pair, 0, 3. So that would be my vertex. And this is the axis of symmetry. So I'm going to my equation, and I have a 1 as the a value, which means my parabola is going to open up, and my parabola will just open up like that. And then again, tomorrow we'll start finding the roots and stuff, and it'll look a little bit nicer. Our parabola will look nicer. Oops, why is that not all erasing? I don't know. All right, we'll figure it out. Okay. So this is the third example, and you're going to actually finish this one on your own. I'm just going to get you started on it. So, and I just want to point out the a, b, and c values. So I have ax squared plus bx plus c. So my a value would be negative 1. And my b value is going to be negative 4. So now when I'm plugging into this formula, this is where we have to be careful. I put the negative in front of the b, and my b value is already negative. So that's going to give me a positive 4 over 2 times negative 1. And I'm not going to finish that. I'm going to have you finish it. And then the other thing I want to remind you of as your graph, doing your little quick sample graph, is the a value is a -1. So when we graph this, your a value, or our parabola, is going to have to open down. So definitely practice this formula. It's going to become really helpful for what we're going to do on Wednesday, because this formula, this -b/2a, is a small piece of the formula that we're going to use on Wednesday. So the more practice you get with this, the easier the formula will be for you for Wednesday. So have a great day. Stay safe, stay healthy, and practice the math.